Hello, biology people. This is Miss Wythe coming at you with a review of all the things that animals are doing regarding cellular respiration and growth, like how they are getting energy, how they are growing. This is what a completed diagram is going to kind of look like. So if you want to pause now, get some colors that you would like. I'm using orange, yellow, and purple for some molecules. Blue for some other nutrients besides the major biomolecules, and I don't know, some teal, some blue for labeling, and some red for energy. So you can always just color and add your own pencil, but I've got a set of markers here, so I'm kind of going to town with the colors. So I'm going to walk you through it. If you want to pause the video now, to capture all the things. I'm also going to put up a complete diagram in Canvas as well, so you can blow up a big still photograph. So I'm actually going to start on the side here and go over how animals are growing. First, we're going to walk through that process. And as we go partway through that, some of the molecules might be used to get energy. So let's add, how do animals do growth? This other word you might see is biosynthesis. Bio meaning life, synthesis meaning to create or make. So how is an organism that is alive building more of itself? And the other side over here is, how do organisms get energy? Get energy, right? So these are our two big kind of questions, okay? Overall, these are all chemical reactions in animals. The bottom one is only animals, fungi. The top one is actually not only animals, but plants, fungi, like every living thing on the planet that has a mitochondria, okay? So I'm going to start with one of the things we probably eat a lot of, which is carbohydrates. So over here, we're going to cover the large biomolecules and minerals in our food. So food gets eaten. And these are some little cartoon models of the different things that might be in our foods, the biomolecules. And I'm just going to summarize that here at the bottom. So these are large biomolecules and other minerals. Okay, so food gets eaten. These are the large biomolecules and other minerals. So I'm going to cover the first one. I'm going to pick orange for carbs because we've kind of been keeping that consistent in this unit. So the reason it's this hexagon, you might recall that when we built glucose, we built it with that hexagon shape. Glucose is the subunit of all carbohydrates. It's a simple sugar. And so these chains of hexagons are representing lots of glucoses connected in a carbohydrate. So I'm going to color them orange and I'm going to label them carbohydrates. I am totally fine with you just calling them carbs too. That's fine. Let's follow the journey of carbohydrates. So you can see that they're in long, big chains. Like we've talked about, hundreds of glucoses will make a starch. As you do a process here in your body, they're going to get separated into individual glucoses. So individual separate ones. So wherever you see a hexagon, let's keep the color consistent. Keep coloring it orange. There should be 8 of them if I did a good drawing, but I think I got a little lazy. We should have the same here and there. I'm going to label what one of these is. That is a glucose. Okay? And you can see that there are arrows making those glucoses travel up here. And there's going to be a journey of what's going on with a glucose related to energy. And so we can label glucose up here. C6H12O6 is our chemical formula for glucose. Okay, but we're going to handle the energy later. Let's see what happens to all of these glucoses that have been broken up separately from the big carbs in our body into little individual subunits. Now, in a human, for example, an animal, they're going to be put back together in some ways. There are different things that your body can do when you're building more of yourself. One of them is glycogen, which sounds like glucose, but it's a little different. This is a carbohydrate that is stored kind of for the next few hours. Not the immediate sugar rush you might get from a candy bar, but that you're able to make it to your next meal. So we can just call these that we've rebuilt here carbs stored for later. Stored for later. There are other purposes for carbohydrates in the body, but a lot of them get into some really complex cell structure that we don't need to worry about for right now. But you are going to store some carbohydrates in your body. If you're a plant, you are making your own carbohydrates in photosynthesis. So you don't need to eat these, but that's only for plants. All right, let's go with a yellowy or maybe like a brown, something that reminds you of fats. I would do a light yellow or highlighter, but then you can't see the writing. So I'm going to pick like a mustard color here. These kind of squid-looking things is a really oversimplified version of the lipid that you saw on your biomolecule coloring activity. Lipid is one way to label them, Lipids. I also like to just call them fats, but you might see various readings that will see them labeled as lipids. Okay? As we break them up, now all those kind of like tentacle legs have broken apart. So there's a number of them here. And the thing that they were all attached to is another name. We're not getting into the specifics of that. If you're into this, take AP Bio. But we broke up all the pieces of fat, right? So now these are, let's just label them as lipid pieces, okay? Or lipid subunits. Okay, lipid subunits. And what your body uses these lipid subunits for, we're going to rebuild them, basically reassemble them back into fat. Fat really doesn't change a lot of format. Like we have lots of different kinds of carbohydrates and sugars, a lot of variety, but fat is fat is fat. Like there's trans fat and saturated fat, but there's not really a lot of variety after that. So if you eat too much fat and don't really exercise, you're going to store fat. Okay. So you might just store that right around the midsection as you exit your youth and don't have the best metabolism. But we also need to have fat to make cell membranes. So I'm going to try to fit that. I'll just put stored fat, and then I'm going to do it off to the side here, and cell membranes. Membranes. Okay, stored fat and cell membrane. Every single living organism has to have fat somehow coming into its body in order to build more cell membrane. It's not possible without it. I'm going to choose a purple for protein-related thing. I like to use a purple starting with P for protein related with P to kind of give my brain another way to remember things. So the proteins are going to be these little balls linked together on a string here. So I'm just going to kind of color over it so you can see the purple in the picture. I got 3 of them. Proteins have a lot of variety. In upcoming units this year, we're going to get into the variety of proteins. Then I'm going to label here just underneath one. Proteins is coming into the body. We're breaking it up. All these individual circles now is the subunit of the proteins. So there are 20 different kinds of subunits for a protein, kind of like 26 letters of our alphabet, and we can make lots of words. I'm going to label up here in this right-hand corner. They are called amino acids. We're not going to focus on the subunit of protein, the amino acids, very much in this unit because we're mainly focusing on cellular respiration, but we're going to come into proteins and amino acids a lot more in upcoming units when we talk about DNA and making new cells and growing an organism. So you've broken up all the pieces. It's kind of like you had pop beads or something and you broke them all apart into all these individual pieces. Now you can build almost anything out of protein from the variety of amino acids you got in your food. So maybe you're eating yogurt, eggs, cheese, meat, beans, nuts, things that have a lot of protein in them, and then you can put it back into new proteins. But you are not made out of beans. You have muscle and you have protein channels in your cells. So what these are is basically new proteins of your body. Let's turn it to the side a little bit. Okay, new proteins of your body. So you have to have incoming amino acids. And a lot of people think this might just be from meat, but there is a lot of organisms that actually have protein. Even spinach as a plant has quite a lot of protein. Avocado has protein and fat, even though it's a plant. So you can get it from a number of different places. The one biomolecule that we have not shown on here a lot is the nucleic acids. Realistically, there is nucleic acid in every single cell because it's DNA. That's going to be more that we're going to cover in our next couple of units this upcoming semester. So I'm not going to focus on that so much in the food, but there's a couple more things that you do need in food that are in small quantities. So that would be things like minerals, right? Minerals could be sodium, which is this, Na, or I'm going to write sodium. This is a salt that your body needs. Calcium, phosphorus, and what was the other? Some sulfur, potassium, which is K, I'll abbreviate. So those other pieces that we need, let's call those minerals. Just like they make up a very small portion of plants, they make up a very small portion of your diet and of you in the end. And they don't really change a lot. Like there's still calcium, sodium, potassium, phosphorus, sulfur. They exist and they're going to get put in your body, used in the ways that your body's going to need. But you have to get them from your food. So I'm going to put sodium, calcium, sulfur, potassium, phosphorus. Use as needed, right? Wherever your body's going to need those atoms. So summarizing what's happening here, I'm going to make sure you can see the bottom of my paper. I might fit it here, and then I might put the summary up here in the corner, wherever you've got space. We took large biomolecules and other minerals from our food. We eat them. They get broken up into small subunits of those biomolecules. Subunits are like building blocks of the biomolecules. And we take all those pieces, some is going to go up here, right? But the majority of it is getting used for you. So atoms from your food are rearranged to build more of yourself. Atoms from food you eat are rearranged to build more you. And that is how you're going to grow. If you stop putting in food, you're not going to be able to grow, repair, fix things, anything like that. So these two big processes, taking food, breaking it down, you may have guessed that this is digestion. Okay? You got to break down all the big things smaller to have small pieces to build new things. This next one, I'm going to call it biosynthesis. And on the side here, I'm going to put growth, because that's basically what biosynthesis means. Okay? Biosynthesis and growth. So this is a big picture of how we're taking the things that are coming into the body, using them to then grow more of that organism. But not all the glucose gets used for like building and growing. A lot of glucose, and even at times fat or protein, if you stop putting in carbohydrates, can be used to get energy. You may have heard of like Atkins and keto diets where people cut out carbs completely. Well, you can do that because there's still carbon, hydrogen, oxygen in the other atoms, and your body can figure it out how to break those down up here in a similar cellular respiration process. It's a way to like change your metabolism. And that's how you might burn fat, because all that's left is the fat that might be on your body, right? If you reduce the incoming food, you have to take from what you already have and burn off things that you already have. Similar in a sad way, people that are anorexic that put in no food, they strip all that fat from their body, and then their body starts to digest their protein, like their muscles and things like that. And that can be really dangerous. So let's follow these glucoses, take them up top, and see how your body is getting energy from the food you eat, right? So we have glucose here. The form of energy that is in glucose is the chemical energy. You could really pick any color in here. And it's in the bonds, right? So we have those high energy bonds between carbon and carbon, or carbon and hydrogen. That's where we put the twist ties in our modeling kit. So your body takes in glucose from the foods, breathes in oxygen gas. I'm gonna like to put this in a cloud so I kind of remember that it's a gas. The process, cellular respiration, turn it to its side. My children are finishing their bath, so if you hear them, that's who's there. And then what we get is carbon dioxide that your body is breathing out. So that's a gas. And also water vapor, right? I am going to draw it as like a teardrop here, right? But that water, you actually breathe out most of it into the air. So these two end up being the atoms from these, but they're released into the air. You brought this in with your food, you brought this in from the air, your body's doing this reaction. All the molecule pieces end up back into the air in the end, and you get to keep the energy. The main format that it starts as is the ATP, or cellular energy. And that's at like the very first immediate level, the first thing you get from this process. And with cellular energy, you can do motion and move around. You can build things in your body. You can do a lot of functions of your body that require energy. There are countless ones out there. If you really get into this, study some more biology, maybe take AP Bio. And from motion, you probably get heat energy too, right? It might just be the heat energy to keep an organism at a warm temperature as a living organism, right? This process of cellular respiration is really similar to burning anything. Burning, and I'm going to draw like a little fire. Okay? Or combustion is another name for it. Anytime you burn something that has carbon in it, in the presence of oxygen, you're going to get CO2, water, and energy. You're doing this process really slow in your mitochondria right now, but if you do this to a piece of wood, it's going to release the same things, just give off a lot more heat and light really fast. Right? I'm going to draw a mitochondria in the background. Right? There we go. Jelly bean sliced open with wrinkles inside, right? So that's where this process is happening. The lower process is like your intestines and then all over your body where you're going to put it. So really, you could kind of get anything here. The burning, you would get like light energy out of it, but I could take almost anything in my food. So I'm going to grab just a piece here. Organic food matter, right? You could technically do this from fats. You could technically do it from proteins. Your body's first choice, however, is the glucose. So that's the one that we're focusing on. You take oxygen in with that, do the reaction in the mitochondria, and you're always getting CO2, water, and maybe we get some heat or ATP. Kind of depends on which part of the process you're looking at. Okay, I think that appears to be it. Use this as a really great review to have in your lab notebook to prepare for our cellular respiration test. Big pictures, again, you got to put food in. You can use things from that food to build and grow or repair, right, if you have an injury. You can also take things from your food and use it to get the energy out of. You're never doing only one of these processes. As a living, breathing, alive being, you are doing all of this all the time. So hope you enjoyed it. If you need to see this picture all in one, it's not clear on the video, there is a clear photograph added to Canvas as well. Thank you. Good luck. Bye-bye.